Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WWE Know Your Role Halloween Edition. And I'm the gorgeous Sable.
And I'm Golddust. And since Halloween is coming up, we decided to do a little bit of a Halloween special. And not only are we dressed up, but we're going to do bloody matches.
I love bloody matches.
They are my favorite. And since I got to go first last time, I'll let him go this time.
Alright, so my first match is Hardcore Holly versus RVD at an ECW event. The match itself was so-so, but when Hardcore Holly goes through a table, he slices the end of his back, and it's a deep cut, gashed wide open, bloody. The most incredible thing about this is he continued. Not only did he continue, but he kept getting suplexed onto his back repeatedly. And every time his back hit that mat, I would cringe a little bit. It was a courageous effort by him. Loved it.
Yeah. In the match, like after he gets his back split open by going through a table, you can see the meat inside his back. And it is gnarly.
Yeah.
It's gnarly.
Definitely.
And also it looks like veins coming out because not only does it split in the middle, but these little offshoots that start splitting off, it is so gross. And Hardcore Holly is hardcore. He's hardcore.
That helps.
Yeah. So my first one, which would be number 3, would actually be a tag team match. Which, when the Hardys and stuff came around, tag team matches got a little bloody. This one's a little different. This one started out like a regular match. It was supposed to be, Paul London and Brian Kendrick versus William Regal and Dave Taylor. That's how it started. And then good old Teddy Long comes out and says, we're going to spice up this match. So he adds the Hardys and Eminem. So the match goes on, and it's all right. I mean, it's not the ladder matches that we're used to, because this is around 2006. They're starting to go a little more, trying to do a little better with the, the PG thing. They're trying, but it's not, quite all the way there yet. But anyways, so what happens is Jeff Hardy goes on top of the ropes as Matt Hardy has Team Eminem right in front of the ladder. So Jeff jumps off, does a little somersault off, and the ladder hit Joey Mercury so hard in the face, right in the nose, and instantly his nose is shattered and both of his eye sockets are shattered, and all of a sudden you just see blood just spew everywhere, all over the mat, all outside. He rolls outside and you never see him again.
No,
and
yeah.
That was like the first 5 minutes, and the weird part is John Andre had to finish the match without his tag team partner, because it may not be the bloodiest thing you've ever seen, but how often do you see a match where someone gets carted out quickly, with a quickness? He got hurt, and he was out of there.
Yeah, it wasn't about the match being so long with all this blood and stuff. It was it was a gruesome injury, a very gruesome injury, and to leave it off would be just not right. So, yeah I like that one to be there. And as for my next one, I went to Elimination Chamber, Survivor Series, 2002. It was the first Elimination Chamber. The main reason I put this in there was Triple H, who was defending, and he was one of the first 2 people in, and within 2 minutes, the second minute of the match, he gets cut open, and goes the whole entire match cut open. Not only that, but then you get Y2J, he gets thrown through the plexiglass by Kane, slices him open. Then you have Shawn Michaels go through, and then they double team and beat down him, and then he's all bloodied up. It was just a great bloody, and not only that, but the match itself was an incredible match with all twists and turns, and being the very first Elimination Chamber. It lived up to everything.
Oh,
it was a bloody, gruesome, fun match to watch.
My favorite part in that match is, now it's down to, Y2J. It was down to Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Well, Shawn Michaels was the only one who wasn't bleeding at the time.
Yeah.
Because, Jericho has his face split open. Triple H had his face split open, in the first 2 seconds of the match. And Jericho's like, oh, fuck that. And you hear him scream, bleed, Shawn, bleed! And he's like rubbing his hands against his forehead. That's just my favorite part of the match. It's just a little,
a little comedy in there.
Yeah, a little tidbit.
Yeah, I like that.
I love Jericho when he talks in the ring. It's always so funny. So my number 2 is a little old school again. And, of course, it's Piper again. But this one's Piper versus Greg Valentine in a dog collar match. Now, this was for the first Starrcade 83, which was the first wrestling pay-per-view. So they had to make it, big and spectacular. So they had, 40 pounds worth of chain attached to these spiked dog collars. And, you wonder, what are you going to do with that? They really beat each other with them. They said, there's no way of faking it. What you got to do is just smack each other with the chain. And they did. And they bleed so hard during that match. I mean, just blood everywhere, all over the ring, all over the ref, all over everybody. And the best part is when Greg Valentine grabbed the chain and he smacked Roddy Piper over the ear, and all of a sudden his eardrum just bursts and there's blood everywhere. At the end of the match, typical Roddy Piper fashion, does a promo, and he's telling him, you only ruined one ear. I can still hear out the other, which means I can still kick your ass because I still got just as much hearing as before, because I really couldn't hear out of this ear anyways. So he was doing him a favor. Piper, you're brilliant.
And it goes back to all the things I talk about Piper every time you add him on to it, but he was just the one he was the trendsetter. He started things. He, like back then they didn't do a lot of those matches that they did like during the Attitude Era, and bringing out that and blooding each other up like that, banging the eardrum, that's just what helped elevate, bloody. And this is a bloody match.
Oh,
a bloody match.
Yeah, before they were concerned about viruses and blood-to-blood contact.
I hadn't seen this match prior, so when you kind of showed me this, I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen that match. That's definitely one of those bloody matches. And for my next one, I decided to go with Undertaker and Batista at Survivor Series 2007. This was in a Hell in a Cell. Undertaker and Hell in a Cell. That's always a deadly combo. And he bashed in Batista with the steel steps, busted him right open. Later in the match, Undertaker gets busted open by the steel steps. They after they're cut open and stuff, throwing each other into the Hell in a Cell. Undertaker ends up giving him first Batista gives him a Batista bomb. Undertaker does his tombstone, then does another tombstone on top of the steel steps. It was a gruesome match, capped off by the best, Edge, who I love, and just as a cameraman comes out there and then bashes Undertaker's face with the camera, then lets Batista win over. This match was gruesome. You knew going into it, Undertaker and Hell in a Cell, it's going to be a very gruesome match, and that's what it was.
Now, I am two things. I'm very particular about blading. I don't like when I can see someone blade. So it really takes two good people, one to distract you, trying to make you not look at the other guy blading. This is a good match because you don't know when they blade. They're so distracted and you don't know where to look at that all of a sudden they're just bleeding and you're like, I didn't even catch them, which is spectacular. And my favorite part was what Ryan said. The Batista bomb through the table. That blood splattered everywhere when he went through that because, Batista can really, put someone through a table because he's a powerhouse. So
really
when I saw that, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, he put him through the table.
That was really good. My favorite, one of the most bloodiest matches I have ever seen was with Eddie Guerrero and JBL. Now, this was during Judgment Day 2004. And they had a little bit of backstory, I think JBL gave Eddie Guerrero's mom a heart attack or whatever, so they're supposed to be really hard-hitting. So when they go into the match, they're constantly outside, constantly hitting each other with things, but a bit of maybe 10 minutes in the match, because it's kind of a long match. So they go outside, and Guerrero puts, of course, through the Spanish announce table.
Poor guys.
Because it's always the Spanish announce table. And so fitting with Eddie Guerrero going through the Spanish announce table. So he put JBL through the Spanish announce table. And as he's kind of checking on the ref because the ref got knocked down, you turn around and he got hit with a steel chair from JBL. And all of a sudden you look at Eddie, and I have never seen so much blood so quickly. I mean, there was just puddles and you couldn't see his face anymore. I'm thinking wow, I don't know if he bladed himself or if he really hurt himself. And the whole match, the rest of the match, which was still more 20 minutes, I think, more to the match, everyone's bloody. I don't know if JBL had cut himself or if he bladed because, everyone's just full of Eddie's blood. The ref's full of Eddie's blood. Other refs come in because the one ref got knocked down, and now they're all bloody. And by the end of it, I'm like, how does Eddie do this? And of course, typical Eddie fashion, does his little shimmy to go do his moves, and blood's shaking everywhere. And I'm thinking oh man, this is not going to end well. So, at the end of the match, which we don't know until we find out later, is that actually Eddie Guerrero bladed himself, but he like nicked an artery in his forehead, and he went into shock after the match because he lost too much blood. So, Eddie Guerrero, you kind of the #1 winner on blood. But there's other things to our video, which is a bit of honorable mentions. Number 1 of the honorable mentions is, why don't we do Mankind? They're always bloody.
Yeah,
They're
you know,
always bloody.
and like going through the matches, and it was like, we could have had, you know, we just chose to do 3, and I felt like each of our matches would have all been Mick Foley. And I feel you could do a whole nother, you know, episode, whatever you want, on Mick Foley. So that's the reason why we didn't go through for Mick Foley.
Yeah, we would have all Mick Foley matches, and we would have been like, oh great, now they're bored because we just gave them all Foley. But Foley is the master of hardcore, as everybody knows, and he can get bloody, and not purposely bloody, not just blading. He just actually gets bloody. So
He just gets messed up.
And our other honorable mention is Vader, which I'll let you explain. Vader's.
Well, Vader, it's a while ago, and Vader is in a match it's New Japan, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
New Japan.
and his eye actually dislodges, and from his face, obviously. But you know what I thought was the crazy thing? Because his eye just puffs out. It just puffs right out.
Yeah, but he
like,
keeps his eye closed, so you
Yeah.
don't see his actual eyeball fall out. But if he probably would have opened it, his eye would have been out, because you see it just bulge right out of its socket. That's the thing he did.
But you know what I thought was the weirdest thing about that?
Huh.
Which that match there is New Japan, and you know they have all their history and their, you know, the way you should do things and
Yeah.
stuff. Well, he ends up taking off his mask in the middle of the match, and when that happens, the whole crowd just is, I don't want to say dumbfounded, I want to say almost outraged, because you don't go out of character, and that was just something that was so,
Yeah.
you know, a no-no, and
Yeah.
and him taking it off. But I mean, obviously you understand. I mean, the guy just pretty much lost his eye. So that's definitely a great honorable mention.
So we decided that for now on, in our videos, we do a little bit of honorable mentions, because sometimes when we do a video, we want to say so much, but it just doesn't quite fit in, but we want it to fit in. So now we have the honorable mention so that it will always fit in.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, you guys, that's it for this week. I'm Sable.
And I'm Golddust. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, because that's what keeps us going.
Thank you.
Bye.